This is the Broad Street Review podcast. I'm Darnelle Radford. Today on the podcast, John Michael stops by to talk about the 2025 Philly Fringe Festival offering Spank Time Machine, a queer Fantasia time travel adventure with a trauma clown. Here is my interview with John Michael for Spank Time Machine. And we're back. Welcome to the Broad Street Review podcast. I'm your host, Darnelle Radford, and today I'm in the virtual studio to continue our coverage of the 2025 Philly Fringe Festival. Over 300 performances, over 300 productions in the month-long extravaganza, September 4th through the 28th, and I'm here with a performer who's made their way to Philadelphia to be a part of this festival through the Cannonball Hub, and that's John Michael. John Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, happy for the attention.
So John Michael's production is called Spank Time Machine, and I have to admit, at first, when I'm looking at the Fringe lineup, I'm looking for what's going to be a draw from the title. And so I'm looking at a title that's going to pull my attention. Then I read further. And so Spank Time Machine, it kind of reminded me of Hot Tub Time Machine. And I was thinking, I said, this is crazy. Like, what is this about? And so I read the description and I said, you know what? This is an interesting piece, and I want to know how this story unfolds. So I added it to my list of things to consider. And so here we are, and I've seen the show, and when I saw the show, I knew I wanted to have a chat with John Michael. So here we are. So how are you today, John Michael?
I'm here about to perform my 48th performance of the Narcan play. This is the 44th performance of the X-rated version called Spank Time Machine, but there's a PG-13 version that just got its collegiate premiere called Narcan Time Machine. And tonight is the 48th Narcan demonstration that is theatrical and that shares belief.
So tell us, what inspired this piece in its various versions.
I was pissed off at society saying I'm sorry for your loss when my friends died. We confuse sympathy as empathy. And this word appropriateness is terrible. So when the third one died, people said, I'm sorry for your loss. And then they tried to act appropriate around me. Not one of them. Not even one of them. And I'm talking outside of my chosen family. Would ask me what their names were or what they were like. They treated me as if I was contagious. If my lived reality could all of a sudden happen on them. I am a performance artist who takes the worst moments of my life and laughs at them on stage. I've been doing this since 2010, and Spank was my 10th play. And as soon as I realized my friend was dead, I knew there was no way in hell I was not going to immortalize them.
Wow. And so you said this is your 10th show, and I think I read in the Chicago Reader that this is the 10th show as an ode to loved ones that you've lost in Overdose. That's not all 10 of these shows. That's this current show.
That's this current show.
Mhm.
I've been doing solo shows since 2010. I had a mentor who said, "You're not an actor, but you're something." And the reason why people are frustrated with you is because they don't know what to do with you. And I had no control over my life. And had no idea I was gay. And people don't understand that. But you, as a Black person, know that stories save lives. And the fact that I didn't see stories of happy gay people in Dallas, Texas, meant that I didn't think I could be happy and successful as a gay person. In fact, I went to college in Oklahoma, and my play was about working at McDonald's without telling anyone why I was working there as a social experiment. And it became a thread next to me not telling anyone I was gay, including myself. And there was this flamboyant, good-looking gay person who was the head of the student union activities force, who was the head of the gay student group. And I was like, how dare he? How is it possible for him to be popular and to be a sissy? Then I saw him holding hands with a boy on my 21st birthday. And I was like, that's me. And so that show is called Would You Like Guys with That?
Clever title.
Well, I start from the outside in. And I believe in the theater of the before. So the fact that you caught the title of Spank Bang Time Machine. And, when I coach younger artists, I try to ensure them that genius is not hierarchical. And the gay man who helped me come out ended up producing the play the following year. And
oh, wow.
we took photos, and I showed him the photos, and it was the planning meeting. And he was giving me $500, and then he told me he was going to spend another $500 on advertisement. And I asked why. And he said, because I want everyone to see your big smiling gay face all over campus. It's not just about the show. So when I think about Spank Bang Time Machine, I think about how fun my friends were. I don't think about how, which this could have been the title. 3 members of my chosen family died of overdoses alone in quarantine, and one of them didn't like attention, so I'm only going to perform about 2 of them. Boo-hoo. And there's people who would want that title because that's appropriate. And the word appropriate is used to not talk about people society doesn't want to talk about. Hoodies on Black men are inappropriate. Laughing at overdoses are inappropriate. Drag queens reading to young people are inappropriate. Trans people are inappropriate. It's the gaslighting us. And so that's my job. It's to take my art dick and smash the things I don't like.
It is interesting how there is a lot of criticism about art because people have specific interests in art, and if they don't resonate with your work, they believe that art is wrong or incorrect, but it's just that they aren't able to find a way into your art.
Charlie Kirk was art, and we like to think he was that he didn't have a place in our society. He absolutely did have a place in our society, and we have a terrible. I'm very liberal, but the woke left think people who disagree with us shouldn't exist. And the art of him going to a college campus, and despite it being hateful, despite it damaging the type of people I love, which is trans people, it needs to be there so that we know what is in people's heads. So, I should give your audience the trigger warning. I'm gonna have a lot of opinions.
I think I'd like to believe that we are a savvy audience. But we welcome comments. So if anybody wants to comment on this episode, please do so.
And if you criticize me, it's just attention.
Well, you are right about Charlie Kirk being a human being and just as valuable in the space as anyone else. I think when people are frustrated, they forget that. And I think everybody has to be reminded that, you're trying to get someone to understand your point of view. You're not necessarily trying to change them, but you're trying to give them food for thought so that they can think about the foundation they're already on and incorporate this new information.
He does have a remarkable amount of privilege that makes us talk about him more as opposed to the death of other people. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. That's all we're going to say. So what else did I put here? So this piece was about how much fun you had with your friends that were part of your chosen family, and the unfortunate incidents that took their lives. And so did you need a lot of space around this to begin to write about it, or had you always written about it in some way as a form of therapy or sort of process?
So it's gaining agency of the story. It's getting control. It's post-traumatic growth. Now, this show is like sword swallowing. This show is like trapeze without a net. I caution young artists not to do this kind of work. And what I mean by this kind of work is using the wound. So in my past, I had some moments, because I call myself a trauma clown, because it's always about the worst moments of my life, and subverting them so that I can get power. And that power I get is contagious. They've never been as intense as this. And I've always performed them from a point of stability. And I did not do that with it. I emotionally sacrificed my mental well-being as an artist for this show. And it's the proudest thing I've ever done, and it's the heaviest thing I'll ever do. And the good in that suffering is that I'm coaching younger artists who are performing about their worst moments. And there's one artist doing a really dark play, and we're taking our time. But I'm working with them to find a producer. So, like, the performing and the writing of this show was safe. And my artistry is how do I not reenact the trauma on stage? But while producing the show myself, every rejection, and now rejections are not just no now. They are mostly ignoring you. And we weren't trained to be ignored. And so for this show, it felt like people said that your gay male friend should have had enough privilege to not have died. And that's not true. That's not what they were saying. They weren't saying that I didn't want to hear the story of your friend. But the show, that's what happened. Part of it was also because I wasn't sober. Like performing the show was helpful, but trying to advocate for it was. And I'm smiling right now talking about it because I'm sending such loving kindness to myself. And everything can mean two things at once. And I hope these are the plays I'm known for when I'm dead. The Narcan plays. But it's not that I don't want to make more great work. It's that my priority will be my inner reaction to the work. Not if the work is gooder. So
yeah. Before we get started, I'm getting a signal that your device is at 20%. Are you plugged in? Do you want to plug in?
That's so technology. Yeah, but you can ask me questions though.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you don't pop out. So we're gonna have a little visual fun here while we juice up the device.
What is the Broad Street Review?
The Broad Street Review is an online publication that centers around the arts and culture in the greater Philadelphia area. So we cover all forms of art. We have many contributors who go out and they experience the show. They write a review or they write a feature on the show, and I'm the only podcaster as part of the network. And it's been around for a bit. I think, actually, I'm drawing a blank on how long we've been around. But we've been around. I've been with Broad Street Review since 2016.
Are you just a podcaster, or are you a reviewer as well?
I'm there as a podcaster. I'm more interested in a feature or just a long form conversation. And so I tend to reach the artist before their event, or we unpack it after their event, or somewhere in the middle of the event. So I find a way, depending on when I can reach them. We sort of steer the conversation around like where we are. Are we at the halfway point? Like, what's the experience of the audience so far? And getting here, what was the journey like? And if it's after the show, we talk about like what's next, and where we're going.
It's much better for me to talk with someone after seeing the show. Can I ask you how you would describe the show to other people? This is my favorite part.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because I read the description, but usually when I talk to someone about the show, I say, so I say the production is like a fever dream of the performer looking back on a traumatic moment where they lost a couple of friends to drugs. And it's also a commentary on the value of Narcan in the community and how those lives could have been saved if Narcan was available. How's that?
Very good.
Cool. I was interested in this piece particularly because in Philadelphia there was a huge conversation about Narcan. There are many areas of our city that are plagued with drug addiction and drug abuse, and it's visible in some places, it's hidden in others. In general, sometimes it seems like the community looks at it as a nuisance that needs to be cleaned up, and then other parts of the community are looking at it as something to be treated. It's and handle with care. And so there's an interesting back and forth in the city. Like, we have locations where people can go to receive, I think, like, minor doses of the drugs that they are currently on, to like sort of wean them off, or just sort of help. And I know that I don't know a whole lot about all of this area, but I know that there have been many conversations over the past few years about whether the infrastructure that is supporting our citizens should be taking on such an effort or not. And I think people who are not affected by it certainly feel that this is not in the best interest. But people who, from all walks of life, who have needed some kind of support, tend to be in favor of the larger infrastructure, particularly the government and organizations, their ability to help, and that is essential. And people are, very supportive of that. But there's always some legal opposition to those things.
Well, that's because a big portion of the people who struggle with overdoses are older black men. And the other portion are people who are mentally ill. And we all talk about mental health positively. Everyone will say it's okay to not be okay, unless if they are difficult. And everyone, including the people you don't like, is someone's precious child. And the show, subversively. So like when I make show, I want them to subversively be something else. So the title suggests this is a time machine based on my sexual exploit. And the reason why it starts there is because my friends were sex workers. But deep down, it's a mother-son clown show about the overdose epidemic. And there's a story about my mother telling about how my childhood best friend died in second grade. And, I don't know why I make shows. Or I don't know why the themes are in it. Because I start with a compass. And the compass of the show is my friends would thank me if a show about them was that. So this meant I needed my mother involved. She made everything easier. And I wanted her so much in my life that I've just become her. And the show is, when she tells that story about the young little girl dying, what I'm hoping to comment in a macro way is our society stops treating people as humans when they become adults. So I just saw a big Narcan ad about what happened when young people die of overdoses. Now that's important. Young people their overdose deaths went up 97% from 2019 to 2020. The overall overdose deaths went up about 76% from 2019 to 2020. However, in Chicago and in big cities, the biggest demographic that is dying is older black men and then white men. But the biggest demographic that should be dying is white men because there's more white men. There should be more white men overdosing.
Well, ideally, no one should overdose. But yeah,
the tragedy of it being black men in their late 50s is that's the same black men who suffered from the crack enforcement. And now crack is this, for your listener, crack is the same thing as cocaine. It's just smoked differently. And culturally, crack is used more by black men than white men. And in fact, cocaine has been a very wealthy thing. And so the enforcement of cocaine was drastically less than crack. And so those black men that suffered from the incarceration of that are being chased by the drug epidemic. Speaking of incarcerated people, that's a very high-risk population. Because the people, several things. When they get out, they think they can do the same amount of drugs that they were able to when the tolerance of fentanyl goes away after 3 days. The other thing about incarcerated people is the drug supply is even more dangerous or just as dangerous in a black market way in prisons. Now, I didn't know how much point of view I was going to get about the epidemic. All I wanted to do was tell people about my friend and try to give them the time machine of Narcan before it was too late. But you know, artists were so underlooked at and undervalued. Every Narcan demonstration or training you go to is boring. And it's sad. These people who overdose were trying to have a good time. Now, as an artist, we see things other people don't see. The stigma is so baked into it that there's these well-meaning words like Narcan vending machines. It's a very popular. You have to press buttons. It looks almost white to do it that way, as opposed to make it in a newsstand where you can just open it. Narcan vending machines get pilot programs. So my CTA in Chicago, the transportation system there, they are doing a pilot program for vending machines. And it is so deadly that they are doing a pilot program because they didn't do a pilot program for meth. And as soon as the COVID pandemic happened, we just trusted meth were going to work based on the studies. And there are so many studies that Narcan works. So it's stigmatizing to do a pilot program of Narcan because it already works. And it's stigmatizing to say Narcan training because you can learn how to do Narcan in 30 seconds. Do you need more tips? Yes. There are tips to using a condom. But no one would ever say condom training. There's tips to using mask. There's not mask training. But and
yeah, it seems like the advertisement should be.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, it seems like the advertisement should be learn to save a life in 30 seconds.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, how did you get into this? Because I'm handing them Narcan, or I'm introducing myself as a Narcan advocate. And I'm like, I didn't choose it. I had to do it. And sometimes, unfortunately, something has to happen to you to act a certain way. And I couldn't talk to my friends about their drug use without screaming at them. And this play is how I have the conversation. And when I was making it, my goal was to get the audience to cheer an on-stage overdose. And the audience goes wild when I overdose on stage. And as a bouffant, I'm like, yummy, yummy, yummy. And I try to take my audience and make them feel different things. When you saw the show, how did I overdose?
I can't remember particularly.
Did I bounce, or did I stick a finger up my butt?
Oh, I think it was the finger.
So that was the first.
I do remember that.
So I used baby powder as cocaine, and Darnelle saw a version where I put cocaine and I stuck a finger up my butt and I overdosed. I had never done that before. Normally, I have an audience lower me down on a pile of cocaine, bouncing me up and down, up and down. However, it took 35 minutes to clean. And I pissed off my producer, and life's too short. If someone's upset, do something about it. So sticking the finger doesn't make a mess.
You got the point across.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the first show, the very first show, first performance of the piece, and and I want to know, like, your thought process there. Did you feel like, because I know, as we perform and continue performing, we notice things, we make adjustments and so on. But when you were ready to perform it for the first time, were you confident, or were you unsure of what this audience would think?
My director, Sammy Zeisel, we just finished our 9th process together. They are an alumni of the MFA directing program at Yale. And while he was studying at Yale, we worked this play. And he said, John Michael, you're not going to land the plane. So crash big. And, Elizabeth LeCompte was in the New York Times about doing a remount play of Spalding Gray. For your audiences, do you know who Spalding Gray is?
Mm-hmm.
So he was a member of the Rooster Group and shared a girlfriend with Willem Dafoe. He did solo shows where he didn't write the script down. He wrote down outline title on a legal pad. And every line he would talk for 2 to 3 minutes. And that's how I developed my shows. So the show you saw was almost word for word, with some vamping with the audience. But Elizabeth LeCompte, when she was revisiting the show she made with Spalding Gray this year, someone is playing Spalding Gray. She uses the phrase perpetual works of progress. So as I changed, the show changed. So I'm talking. So tonight I'm gonna say I have 100 days of sobriety, as I do today. With this show, I did 18 performances at 3 different festivals before its Chicago premiere, because the difference between me and the Steppenwolf, well, one of the differences, because I bet there's a lot. They get 14 to 21 performances before a critic is invited.
Oh, wow.
So, and even Hamilton, before it was in New York, it was developed for at least 2 years. Hundreds of performances. Before O'Mary got on Broadway, it must have been performed like almost 200 times, at least. So we as indie theater makers don't remember that. That people with resources get more reps than we do. Now, with the Chicago premiere, it was for my community. So it had to be as good as possible. So that's why I waited to do it in Chicago. My other shows, I usually do workshops there. Now, when the show started, the first 2 festivals, 1 out of 3 audience members took home Narcan. And that's because I handed out the Narcan at the end of the play. There was only the Narcan demonstration scene in Act 3 originally. Lucky for me, I'm at a point where I take all feedback. And there was an older artist who said, dude, you need more information about Narcan. And then I was like, how do I get all the audience to take it home? And I was like, I just have to keep talking about it in the curtain. And then when I did it at the Baltimore Fringe, the house lights go up in Act 3. And yet I had to turn on the house light because the tech couldn't do it. And where I did it was right by the back row of the audience. And when I was doing that in tech, I was like, what if I just hand out the Narcan in the show? And now it's 100% taking of Narcan from the audience. And it's because they heard me talk about my friends, and then they see me looking at them eye to eye, handing out the Narcan. Normally, I hand it individually. You saw a show where I got people to hand it out for me. Now, if there's any younger artists listening, even if you're not a clown, the thing you can take away about clown is everything unwanted should be wanted. So, like, the unwanted is opportunity. So I would have wanted the tech to be able to control the house lights. But because I was placed in that situation, it just clicked. And the other, like, the more clown example of how the unwanted should be wanted is I get hair in my mouth in the show. Younger me would have been like, that takes me out of the moment. But now it might have happened when you saw it. Did I get hair in my mouth when you saw it?
Yeah.
So for the audience, I like have quite a flow when I'm performing. And then all of a sudden, sometimes I stop in a weird moment. And then the audience sees me sticking a finger down my mouth, searching for hair. searching for it. And it's always alive. And it's always alive. But you know, just like the wild coyote.
Have you?
Yeah. The wild coyote. Yeah.
Have you ever worked with an audience that was not willing for the participation?
No. The stories that real. Stories that.
Yeah.
So, but that's
you think everybody comes knowing what they're getting into?
No, it's also because like I've been doing audience participation since 2014. But this show, no one has never not come up to do Narcan. It usually happens really quick. I believe if you're going to do audience participation in a show, it needs to be part of the theme of the play or work with the play's mission. And this play, in the climax, the audience becomes the hero by Narcan. And it uses the bystander effect of audience participation to stimulate the bystander effect of danger. So the bystander effect is you're in a community of people, something bad happens, but because there's so many people, no one does anything about it. Overdoses, sexual assault, bullying, harassment. That's the bystander effect. Now with audience participation, when it's bad, the audience looks around each other, hoping they're not gonna have to sacrifice their comfortability to go and do audience like it's like it almost gets to a point where someone's doing the performer a favor. And so, you know, when you mirror things, when they like are side by side, they're hold on a second. Hello? Is everything okay? Sorry. Someone, a delivery person was talking on the phone and used an expletive, and I was kind of scared.
Okay.
Where were we?
We were talking about the audience and their participation, and you were talking about how, you know, the mission of the play.
Yeah. So, you know, I knew when I was making the Narcan scene, I wrote it 2 days before opening, 2 to 3 days. And I knew I wanted it in the play, and I just kept describing what I wanted it to be. It had to be rock and roll, because my friend Cody, who died of fentanyl, he was rock and roll. And in the show, I talk about how when he was found dead, he was Googling what to do if you get fentanyl. So his phone, when it was unlocked, had Narcan up as a Google search result. And that's when I found out about Narcan. So for the demonstration scene, I wanted it not to be sad. I wanted it to be rock and roll. And my hero is Taylor Mack. And for every play I make, I have a quote of his on the butcher paper. My walls are covered with butcher paper. And Taylor Mack asked once in an interview, how can the audience be in control of the climax? And to me, I believe I want to make sure we get to talk about what you want to talk about, because this is your show, and I can just
this is it. I wanted to
topic myself.
I wanted to give you the floor, and I'll chime in where necessary. But this is it. This is what I intended.
Okay, cool. Can I talk about Taylor Mack?
Sure.
Are you familiar with Judy?
Judy?
That's Taylor Mack's
I'm not.
pronoun. To honor Judy Garland. Because when Judy Garland died, that was when that had a pivotal impact on them, on Judy. And Judy uses Judy because it's impossible not to emasculate yourself saying Judy. And they were doing this before 2010. And artists need to be ahead of time. And when I was in the closet, I came out in a monologue to my theater teacher, and he was like, "Hey, I hear about this play in Dallas. Let me take you there." And it was called The Beast of Taylor Mack. And Taylor Mack is the MacArthur Genius Award winner for all the big spectacle plays Judy does. But it started out as solo shows. And so I saw Judy's solo show, and in it, Judy asked for all the straight audience members to stand up. And I didn't stand. And all of a sudden, older gay people started smiling at me. And audience participation made me feel less alone. It just takes one moment, Darnelle. One offering to change someone's life forever.
Yeah, that's what happens when we are presenting in general. If you're giving a speech or you're up in front of an audience and a microphone, usually you make a joke or something so that you can get the audience on your side. And that's the thing. It's like there's a way that you sort of level the playing field. I know I'm here performing with you or I'm performing at you, but we're in this together. And even though we all know that, we do need a prompt. And so it is helpful when it is part of the show to address and acknowledge that the audience is there. I think when a musical does that or a show does that and they say, "What are all these people doing here?" It's like, oh, they do know we're here, or at least for this moment, it's enough to wake up the audience to say, "Oh, we're a part of this. Oh, great."
Well, Mark Zuckerberg says over half of our friends in the future will be robots. And the reason why they don't want to regulate the robots is so that they can manipulate us. So the loneliness epidemic's only getting worse. Now, the contradiction of being anxious, being afraid, of being an individual is TikTok. Over half of Gen Z lists social media influencer as their biggest desired profession. 40% of every other generation lists it as their most desired profession. Theaters are so cliche in talking about wanting new audiences. And they never think about what the new audiences are. And right now, our medium has an opportunity to put the audience in the show. Give them the attention they want. We have the opportunity, Darnelle, to put our art form back into the relevance it had in society pre-talking. I'm talking about a movement bigger or as big as Stanislavski, where we lose control and give the remote control to the audience, creating the community we want together. The theaters are terrified of that because there can be bad participation. Or because participation can be bad. But so can Shakespeare. So can intergenerational relationships be bad. People always shit on intergenerational relationships. And I'm like, other relationships can be bad too. And they do that with audience participation a lot. And I'm like, honey, we just need to learn the technique. And the technique is not making someone uncomfortable, but lighting up the joint, rolling the joint, lighting it up, and giving it to someone who's never smoked weed before. So all they have to do is breathe in and breathe out. That's so with my participation, it's all about getting the audience to have laugh, to be in charge. So if I can give them the dopamine I get on stage, then I know I'm winning as a storyteller.
Hmm.
The most popular play, one of the most popular plays, is Every Brilliant Little Thing, which is an audience participation play. Most produced.
Yeah,
Like,
Every Brilliant Thing.
Top 5 or top 10. I would say top 5 or top 10. Everywhere. Have you seen that play, or do you know about it?
Yes, I've seen it. Two of my theater colleagues have been the performer, and those shows tend to extend too.
Because the audience wants to be in the action now.
Well, it's like, it feels so personal, and the way the audience is involved is organic. It just we sort of ease into participating in the show. And I know there's the whole thing about numbers throughout the process. But yeah, you walk away from that going, I was a part of this. Even when you talk to other people about it, you're not really acknowledging that you were a part of it, but it feels more intent. You feel more about that performance because the audience was involved, and it's usually an intimate audience as well.
Personal to communal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have a version of this piece that's been adapted for youth education.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Well, I mean, I was interested in, like, when you present this, like when you submit this for the Fringe, when you were able to do this at Steppenwolf, like what was their response to before you got to yes? Like, were they immediately an emphatic yes, or like what was their response to this piece?
Well, the Steppenwolf had a responsibility when I was working on this play to do trans and people of color plays, because everyone in the theater community dropped the ball. So they weren't able to give any attention to it right away, understandably. Because I was making the play outside of right when the pandemic was swelling down. So the Steppenwolf, though, they have a program called The Lookout, which is a big shining beacon in Chicago theater, where they consistently present experimental theater makers. And the producer there, Patrick Zackham, is a huge champion of my work. And the other thing is they tend to like to see something that's had a little life, that's been developed. So that it's presenting the best of the scene, or someone's best work. And they're trying to always represent every part of Chicago. So they had seen the show and loved it. People are scared of it usually because they're like, why does it have to be done in a mankini? And I think that work is public health advocacy now. 8% of men didn't have sex annually in 2008. Now it's 1 in 3. It's called the sex recession. And because sex is inappropriate to talk about, and in the theater world, because sex was involved with the Me Too movement and abuse and harassment, we don't think it's important, but it should be important. Sex positivity. And all of a sudden, I just taught at a university that booked the premiere of Narcan Time Machine, the young adult play. And I told them about their staff, and I told them that they want to be good on stage. They need to work on their game. They need to like meet strangers. Meeting strangers is how we fight artificially intelligent authoritarianism. And all of a sudden, because of the sex recession, romance, like romance and sex, it's science fiction. It's science fantasy. And what is happening when we can't hold each other after we come? Well, we start to think women don't need reproductive rights. We start to get mad at women for not liking us. And hate breeds because we can't come together. A great segue to talk about my PG-13 play.
Well, I just have 2 more questions before I let you go today. I always ask this in some form, but what do you hope the audience walks away with? I know that seems kind of obvious, but like in general, what do you hope your audience walks away with?
Knowing how to do Narcan and talking about Narcan. But going back to how perpetual works of progress, this was the 45th time I've done these series of plays about Narcan at Philly Fringe. And in Philly Fringe, it's the first time I've ever said the actual names of my friends for the audience. In Act 3, I talk about how one of the memorial services of my late friend was at the strip club he was a stripper at, and how we got to say his name out loud. That was always in the play. But now I say Cody Laughlin. The other person's name is Ken Ballard. And then I say, are there any other names? And it's the most powerful moments. I've been responsible as a performer for the last 15 years. I have seen people breaking down in this realization that they don't get to say the names of who they love out loud enough because it's so difficult to talk about. And they say their names, and there have been 3 performances, and I think I've heard at least 9 different names, maybe 12. Now I've only had 70 performances. That's a wild number. Or 70 audiences. That's a wild number. And after they say their names, I look at them in their eyes and say, your loved ones were not their last moment. And you deserve to be proud of them. And I say that because I had to learn that. So I want them to walk away with Narcan and the idea that their friends were perfect.
Okay. That's a good takeaway. My final question is, I've been asking every artist in the Fringe, what do you need as an artist? that would allow you to bring your work to light?
To light?
Yeah, like to get it from idea to presentation. Like what are some of the things that you need? Like it could be a notebook, it could be a special pen, it could be space, it could be,
Money.
Rent. Yeah, it could be any of that.
So I've been teaching this and harping on this. So someone saw a Spank Bank Time Machine and asked if I could make it PG-13. I said no. Then they offered me $4,000. It was the Wellness Center of Loyola University. And I did 25 minutes of that play. That was the half of the Narcan, half of the plays about the overdose epidemic. So I just did that half. Then my best friend was at a bar with the head of the recovery of the Lutheran Social Services of Illinois, and they were both drunk. And he told them about my play, or her about my play. And it wasn't like alcohol recovery, it was drug recovery. And she was like, oh my God, we just got a $15,000 grant. And we don't know what to do with it. It's supposed to teach about overdose prevention. All of a sudden, I got a $12,000 budget. I've been begging for theaters to book me. But the thing is that like, if I wanted theaters to book me, then I should have been doing basic, predictable work. So now, when you ask me, what do I need? I need someone outside of theater. Why would I want theaters to produce my work? They're dropping the ball. They are doing these plays for an audience that will be dying. They're losing money. They're ignoring the trend. They're not doing different things to get different audiences. They have to be shamed into telling trans and people of color stories. Why would I want those theaters? I want outside organizations. So like, if we want our art form to be alive, we need to make it essential. So like, I've been living off of health education money and art grants, and it's been half and half. My next play is about bipolar. I have two plays about bipolar. I have another play about dementia. Do you notice the kind of trend of health education? It's savvy, but it's also like, I know I can make hard to process ideas easy through storytelling.
Yeah.
So outside interest is what I need. And it's what we need as an art form. We need to make our art form undeniable and useful to other people who aren't theater people. And like, I see Shakespeare, Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, and I fucking love it. But I'm consistently telling my friends, and it's pissing them off. But, that's kind of who I am. I'm a little brother, and archetypally, that's who I am. I'm like a little devil. And I say this all the time. Sometimes I shouldn't for networking's sake, but I say that play was just for us. That play wasn't for someone who hasn't seen theater. You have to be trained to like Shakespeare. Shakespeare is like golf or tennis. It's not basketball. Basketball you can pick up. We need to make the basketball of theater, or the wrestling of theater. I could keep talking.
I think that's a good place to leave it. John Michael, the production is Narcan Time Machine.
That's a young adult play.
Yeah, the production in the Fringe was Spank Bang Time Machine. Tell our listeners how they can keep in touch with you and kind of ride with you on this journey.
You can Instagram me at JMSilly. I want to briefly plug the young adult play. I did it last Monday for its collegiate premiere. It's been through workshops. It was done in front of 75 college kids. I have made 12 original plays. This is the best play I've ever made. It is the most consequential artwork I have ever made. These young people, I found a way to reach them. They were cheering. They were learning about not just Narcan, but how to accept help and how to ask for help when you're self-harming and how we shouldn't judge people. And I know I can save even more lives, so that the adult play has done about 3,000 Narcan doses. But this play, it played for 75 college kids. And so what I'm asking for your audience, if they want to be a part of this journey, is connect me to philanthropists or connect me to people in higher academia. Because if this plays in front of more college kids, more lives will be saved. And the thing about, we were talking about outside in and the theater of the before. This show, when it's on a college campus, it affects the people who don't see it because they hear the word Narcan followed by time machine. All of a sudden, Narcan isn't difficult or sad to talk about. It's fantastical. So, support my work. You can buy a t-shirt. You can donate. I have a fractured atlas. Reach out to me on Instagram, JM John Michael Silly. Yeah.
All right. John Michael, thank you for having this chat with me. I was glad to have experienced your piece. I'm glad I worked it into my Fringe quest.
It's a
quest. Which it's a quest. It's to try to find a good amount of the offering to say that you've had a good Fringe. I think that's everyone's goal, to try to, not just find your friends, but sort of challenge yourself and find a new piece, learn something. And I think I create a good list of things to try to do that.
What show would you recommend to me?
To you, let's see. Well, there's a show that already closed. It was called Dogberry and Burgess Are Scared. It's a play on these two characters from Much Ado About Nothing, and it is Fringe bound. They're planning to go to Edinburgh with it. They're supported by Cincinnati Stage, I believe. That was one of my earlier conversations that I had this season, and also the Presented by Chris Davis.
We were Edinburgh.
Seems
roommates.
to be on everybody's list. Yes, that's right.
He
obviously, yes, because I walked in with Chris.
He was my roommate in Edinburgh Fringe when I was just turned 30, and he might have cleaned up after me multiple times.
Yeah, he and I walked into the theater to see the show together. Yeah, I've been following Chris for a long time. I feel like he's a de facto co-host.
He's kind, and it's like the older I get, is like it's not about being talented; it's about being good to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people will notice your impact sooner than later. And they will just look and see all the good that you're doing, and then they'll want to acknowledge that in you. Yeah, it's like you don't have to try so hard to let people know that you're doing good work. You just do good work, and they'll see it.
But when you really like attention, sometimes that's hard.
Absolutely. It's sometimes you got to stretch that so you can feed that itch too. John Michael, thank you for chatting with me. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you, Darnelle. Bye.
Bye. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. To get involved with Broad Street Review, head on over to the website at www.broadstreetreview.com to find out how. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.